have Commissioner Cynthia Garris in studio. So excited for this incredible moment. Queen, how are you doing today?
I am blessed, and I am glad to be here with Sunny TV.
Awesome.
Yay,
So
welcome,
excited.
welcome.
So what inspired your journey of public service?
Well, I have always been into politics. When I was 18, when I turned 18, I walked into the elections office and registered to vote. It's been something that has driven me. From a child, I used to watch my family watch the news, you know, when King was assassinated and just different things that happened, Kennedy getting assassinated, and my people getting beaten up just to have the right to vote.
Absolutely.
So I always thought people died for this, people fought for this, and I need to be involved.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I always I taught history for years in my previous life as a public school teacher, and I would always tell the kids, because I did a lot of government econ, you know, those 11th and 12th grade classes, and your vote is your voice.
Yes.
And if you don't use that, then you've silenced yourself.
Yes.
And could potentially marginalize others as well. And so it's very important. So I love that. So do you remember the moment you found out you were elected? What was going through your mind when that happened?
Well, the election day, I ran around, I threw on a crazy hat and went from poll place to poll place. And I was exhausted. And I really had placed in my mind to be home alone to find out the results. And everybody was saying, no, you couldn't do that. And I was like, yeah, because if it don't go my way, I'd rather be home and not be
Right, true. It's your safe zone, right.
And so they encouraged me to do something. So we went to Hurricanes, Hurricane Patty's Underwater over there. And Mark Bailey was there, and some of my friends. I had 2 long tables of friends. I lost my cell phone that night.
Of course.
Oh my God! And it was crazy. It started raining, and I was carrying, and I had some centerpieces, patriotic centerpieces made, and I thought they were going to be one way, but they were long, and so I was trying to get them in and get everything situated before everybody arrived. And I just really, it was funny because during my campaign, I wore a lot of wigs. And it was windy, and I thought, don't wear a wig if that wig blows off.
Right?
You know?
I know.
I gotta get
I
over
know.
that, you know? And so I said, wear a hat. People don't care about a hat flying on somebody's head. It's not so much drama. So I threw on this hat, looked crazy, got there, looked tired because I was tired. And we were sitting there, and I remember Des. She no longer works at the elections office, unfortunately. She moved home. But I remember her telling me how I could go onto a site to see the elections coming in, because we were sitting there waiting for it to come on TV, and it wasn't. And go into the thing, and then I remember what she told me, and I went on, and I saw the absentee and the mail-ins. And I was winning then, and I said, I won. And I was like, where did you find that? And so Greg White and everybody tried to get on.
I love Greg White.
Yeah, they were trying to find where I found that. And I said, oh, no, I didn't. This is just absentees and so forth. And they said, well, that's a good start. That's a good start. So then we kept going back, and then it was, I was winning the different precincts, and then finally, I stopped looking, and then they was like, you're too far ahead to lose at this point. And I said, I don't know. And then Greg looked again. He refreshed his screen, and he's like, you won. And everybody was screaming that I won. And I had a feeling, because I'm a spiritual person, that I was going to win. And I have this beautiful big, it's like a sculpture that says believe. And every day I would look at it and I said, I believe, because God put me on this path. And there was days and there was signs during the campaign in itself letting me know that he had not forsaken me, that he was rolling with me. And so that day, it was like everybody couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. It was like so many emotions.
I can still feel that emotion when you tell us this story.
Yeah, and God said, because I remember when I first realized I had an opponent, God said, I said, they're rich, they're rich, their wife's rich, how am I going to do this? And God said into my spirit, but I'm on your campaign team.
Okay.
I love that.
That's a good
So
supporter.
you just do something every day.
I have
every
chills.
day do something.
Yes.
And every day I did.
Yes. Now, I love your story because it just didn't start with public service. It was a gradual, like all the different positions you had. Where did you start within the city of St. Augustine?
Well, I believe I look back, I reflect a lot over all the jobs and all the different things that I've done in my lifetime. I used to work for the Naval Underwater Systems Center when I was young in Rhode Island. I have had some really great jobs to work with people, having to get a secret clearance, have to do this, have to do that. I worked at the courthouse before I worked for the city for 10 years. And I ran for office in 2000 for Clerk of Courts. And then in 2002, I ran for City Commission. Connor and Crenchlow were in the race. I got in late, and a lot of people said, why didn't you get in sooner? And I went around and spoke. Neither one of them could win because I pulled enough votes. And then I decided to do a sure thing. I decided to go back to school and get my degrees. And so I got my bachelor's and my master's. And then when I went on to work for the University of Phoenix, I went from being a financial advisor to being a debt collector, it felt like. And so that wasn't what I signed up for. So I decided to take a break, and I left. And I was just going to chill, and my uncle, Jerry Hamilton, told me about a job open for the city. When he first told me about it, it was working in a gift shop. But by the time I found out about it, that job was closed. Then there was a job at the parking garage, and Sharon Langford, she was over that.
Love Sharon,
yeah,
yes.
Sharon is a great person. And she hired me for that job. And I would dress up every day and go to the parking garage, and people would come up in their cars and ask me, why are you here? You look like you need to be somewhere else. And I would smile. And anyway, they went to uniforms, and then I applied for different positions. I was overqualified because I had a master's, and they had somebody that was better they had in mind for that job. And then it was funny. There was a guy there named Bill Buttafuoco that asked me to get a different job, to go full-time, because I was only part-time. And he said, you don't get any benefits. He had been there for 16 years, and I was young. And he didn't want me to make the same mistake he did and to get something, full-time. And so I started applying. I applied for 5 jobs. The 6th job I got, I took, I prayed about it. I took a custodian position. I prayed about it. I called my children, because we all got our masters in 2006, and asked them if they would be humiliated if I took a custodian position. And they said, no, Mom, you do what you got to do. And I said, I just need to get full-time. I do not need to keep working.
Yeah.
And I ended up being assigned to the government house and the police station. I got to meet some great police officers, and I got to meet some, and Lauren Ludus was the chief of police. He's amazing.
Yeah.
I still see him
Great guy.
sometimes. He's still a great guy.
I see him at the amphitheater all the time, right?
Yes, I see him at the amphitheater, and when I go to Fort Moset's concerts, I see him. But then after that, I had prayed about taking the custodian position because I overheard it, and I didn't see any more job posting. So I asked God if he wanted me to humble myself to rise again. And it came back to my spirit that God said if the job makes $25,000 a year, that's what I want you to do. So when I couldn't leave work and the job closed the next morning, so I sent a coworker to go and get the paperwork from personnel along with the transfer sheet. And they flew there, got the transfer form, brought it back to me. I turned straight to the page where the money was, and the job paid $25,100. So there's the $25,000 God told me, and 100% is what he wanted me to do. So I took that position, had it for about a year and a half, and I pulled my knee out because somebody put phone books in the trash, and I told God I was ready for him to walk me into my season. At that time, a guy that had given me the position that hired me during the interview, Charlie Hill, was the facilities coordinator at the time. And 32 people applied for that job.
Mm.
And I got interviewed 3 times. And they had taken a coworker from his position that he liked and read his personnel file and promoted him to another position. And he was upset because he liked his job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suggested that they go into my personnel file and see my credentials and give me this position. Because you're not using me to my
You
full
got in there,
capacity.
right? Yeah.
I love
And
that.
so they did. They listened. They did. And then I got the facilities coordinator job. And it was kind of ironic because there was people that had applied for it. They had no idea of my history and all I was capable of doing. They didn't even know that I had ran for office, and somebody had to check them that I was worthy of that job.
So
That's
what do
amazing.
What do you love about serving St. Augustine?
I think serving St. Augustine, well, I'm customer service. All my jobs have
And that's
been
why the
geared
people love you so much,
to
because you
customer
listen to
service.
us when we have issues, and you
Yes.
find a good common ground for all of us.
Yeah, I think that if I always had the motto, treat people how you want to be treated. Do you want to be treated badly? No.
Mm-mm.
Do you want to be treated kind and like you matter? And so that's how I treat people.
I love that.
treat people how I would want to be treated. And I have empathy when empathy should be there.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about being on the commission is I could be like writing some notes down from something somebody said, and somebody would get on the mic and God would guide me to listen. As soon as they start talking, you're like, listen, and I'll write down notes, and then I'll echo what they said, because sometimes people be in positions and it's just, they look at things as just another person whining
Yeah.
or, oh, here we go. But it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
And what I explain to my fellow commission a lot of times, and I know they probably get sick of me saying this, but I say if somebody gets off work, takes the time to come downtown, pay for parking, come in here, and they're not a public speaker, fill out one of these cards, and come before the commission, this mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This mattered.
I love that you take the time to listen to your constituents, and then, like you said, I like that you say echoed.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes these meek voices, like you say, can come in, and it's your job to echo those so that you can get
Yeah, to be their voice.
to be their voice for them.
And then they
it's-
start thinking, yeah, you're right. I remember that.
yeah.
And then every now and then, I think they're hearing me, because now and then they start writing down some of the people that really sat on their spirit as well. And so it's about being, I feel like this for myself. I didn't join the commission by myself. God came with me, and he guides me. And so when I make a decision on the commission, I can sleep very well at night, because I know that I was governed by the Spirit in me to hear them, to act accordingly, to raise my voice, and to say what needs to be said. And sometimes, if you watch the commission meetings, sometimes I stand alone.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
I don't care if I don't go along just to get along. I
Yeah.
speak my voice and I stand on it. And
that's how
what
you
we
get things
need.
done.
Yes.
Forward progress.
Yes.
And you're just sitting here, listen to the different positions you've held, the way in which you rose to where you are today. First of all, I don't even understand how that's all possible, because I'm trying to guess your age, which is not the thing that you're supposed to do when you're sitting here. But I'm thinking you have done so many different things.
Amen.
How have you fit all of this in?
Amen.
To
Yeah.
get to the point of where you are sitting right now? Like, I'm baffled.
Yeah.
You've literally floored me, because I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, bachelors, masters, all of these different jobs that you've
Children.
held, the kids, because then you're calling your kids, you're talking about, should I take this, should I not take? I mean, you floored me in that alone, and now you've made it abundantly clear that you are here to be a voice of the people, for the people, by the people, to make change. And that's an amazing message. And I'm so glad that you got to share it here with us, for our locals, as well as for the people that follow us around the country, because good grief, that's an amazing story.
Yeah. Yeah, I think but the good thing about me going from the custodian position I was a trailblazer with that, because once they saw that I made that transition and did it very well, then a lot more people did it. So it's probably like 15 people that went from
Open the door.
Yes.
Come on in.
Open the door that, hey, maybe we need to check these custodians out, because she's like swimming downstream, and some of them are doing excellent. And I just smile about it, because I remember when I interviewed going into that, I didn't have on my custodian clothes when I had the interview. And the first thing the people that interviewed said, "Aren't you working today?" And I said, "Yes." And they looked at my clothes, and I said, "If you want different, you got to be different."
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
There it is.
That's a T-shirt right there. I love that.
I feel like you couldn't have ended that segment any better.
Stronger, yeah.
That
Yes.
was phenomenal.
Oh.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking us down the road with you, because this was such an amazing way to start our day. And I know that all these Sunnies out here have to be so unbelievably inspired.
I'm so proud right now of you and leading our beautiful city. You find joy, grit, and grace every single day.
I
Commissioner
do.
Garris, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
Lovely
for having
meeting you.
me.
Can't wait
Yes.
to have you on again.
Yes, thank you.
So
You guys
special.
are amazing.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
I told you, right?
I know